This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Stunning, beautiful morning. It promises to be very, very warm today. The sun is just basking all of the hyenas here and myself. So I'm very excited. We're already at the den, action-packed this morning, I suspect. So jump on board, everybody. It's your safari, your live safari through the African bush. Good morning and welcome aboard, everybody. I'm so glad to have you. Like I said, we're already at the den. Still some squealing going on, some feeding was happening, and then the mothers got up. It's me, Trishala. I've got a paw on camera. We're here in Djuma Game Reserve with the Juma clan, and none other, of course. And we've got two of the adults around, and Swazi. Ribbon and Intima are here. And whenever Swazi's around, it promises to be a fun-packed morning at the den. He's already going at it. Well, your live safari, everyone. So chat to us, give us your questions and your comments. We'd love to hear from you. Use that hashtag WildEarth, or you can use @FC on the YouTube chat stream. You can also go to our website. You can register and use our questions and comments box. If you're under 18, please use kids' questions at wildearth.tv. And we'll try to get as many of those answered as possible. Ribbon is looking very, very, very rotund this morning. Safari Kitty, you say hyenas for the win this morning? Yes, most definitely. I'm so glad to have gotten here and to see that so many are out and about. With this morning light, everything looks gorgeous. Don't you love how the mane there is backlit by the sun? Stunning. So Ribbon is looking huge. She's obviously had a good meal. I can also smell whatever she ate. That's never a good thing. You should never be able to smell what somebody's ate or eaten without seeing the food. Ribbon is a little bit playful today, or a little bit irritable. Maybe she's just too fat at the moment, so she's a bit irritated by everybody, all the cubs trying to play with her and she can hardly move. There's Swazi. It's 18 degrees at the moment, 65 degrees Fahrenheit. Very, very, very misty. And can you believe it? Early in the morning and I don't have a jacket on. That must tell you it's quite warm. Swazi is the best playmate. So tolerant. Carol, hi, good morning. You'd like to know how many cubs are at the den? There's 7. Well, at the moment, there are 4 that I can see or that I've seen. But there's 7 in total. Ribbon's 2 boys, Heart's boy and girl, and Tima's little boy, June's girl, and Corky's, of course, Corky's Braveheart. As the cubs walk past Swazi, he looks at them in anticipation of having someone to play with. Ooh, who's coming? What was that? Beach Girl, you'd like to know when will Swazi disperse? Pretty soon. Swazi will be 3 this year. This year is 2021. And he was part of the 2018, early 19 cohort of cubs. So very soon, if we're lucky, we'll have about 6 months to a year with him, depending how attached he feels to this area. For males, it's around 2.5. Swazi has now left. Ribbon is leaving. And the cubs are looking at me. I'm not your mummy, I'm sorry. The adults have all gone. Just watching her last movements out. All right. Well, I'm just very, very glad that we managed to spend this morning time with them, but we're going to have to leave now. I'll go check out the other den, see if there's some adults around there or anything happening there. But for now, I'm going to send you off to have a look at the weather at our different locations.
Good morning and welcome back to Tswalu Kalahari. We have just found an awesome set of cheetah tracks. As you look at this track, very interesting. There's 3 very sharp lobes at the edge back of this track, as you can see there. Very, very interesting 4 toes that's happening right over there in the front, and very distinctive sharp claw marks that you see there. Now, this is one of the only cats that you do see the claws extended all the time and on the actual track. So there you can see very, very nicely the actual tip top of the toes, from the toes over to the toenails, basically, if I can put it that way in common language, basically. But yeah, very sharp 3 lobes at the back of the track. So in saying that, welcome to Tswalu Kalahari, guys. My name is Yuan, and behind the camera this morning is BK. We have just discovered these tracks, and if you remember yesterday from Obi that's been coming through the area looking for those cheetah, these tracks have just come out of this area basically this morning. And so what we're going to do is, while we were following these tracks coming down the road, we've literally heard the baboons shouting, going crazy actually on the edges of the mountains here. So what we're going to do this morning is we're going to go across towards the edges here. The tracks have gone back into a water point. It's gone across back towards the mountain, and so we're going to follow that audio and see what we can get up to delivering this morning with those cheetah. But yeah, it's a coalition by the looks of it, a coalition of 2 males. This is just very nice track of a predominant male coming through this area, but you can see how nicely that is displayed on top of the tire tracks from vehicles that has been here yesterday afternoon. But yeah, I think let's pop over towards those mountains, see what we can do down and about back in that direction towards that mountaintop. In the meanwhile, we're gonna send you back over to Steve, and then we'll keep you updated. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Juma. Welcome to a misty morning.
on the western side. We're going to be moving into that direction to explore. Hello everybody, good morning. My name is Steve, joined by Johanna on camera, and as always, delighted to have you with us in the early morning. I hope you're having a wonderful day so far. So far, we're having a splendid morning. I came to the west to find some lion tracks because, well, I've had a dream about lions. So I have a feeling I'm going to find some. And I'm just going to move back a touch here. I'm going to show you some wonderful tracks in the sand in the early morning. Lovely activity. Johan, tell me when you're happy with the position. Let me just move it to there. How's that? Okay, so you can see lots of activity on the ground over here. And let's get out and show you what's been going on. Now, first of all, let me get a stick. I don't want to disturb this because there's wonderful tracks. Okay, so first of all, over here is some wildebeest dung. Wildebeest deposited, it had probably rolled in the sand here, which made it nice and sort of, there's a wildebeest track over here, a wildebeest track over there. It made it sort of smelly for the most part. And then along came a hyena. He came in, he sniffed, he rolled a bit in the wildebeest dung as well. He came over here, and here's a wildebeest track there as well, hyena track. And then the hyena came and did kicking, scratching in the dirt with the back feet, like this. And they probably pasted and urinated. I can't see a pasting, but there's probably a pasting here somewhere. And this kind of territorial marking will stay quite nicely because of the mist and the dew. This wetness will actually hold the smell a little bit longer. And through the midst of all this, the little track over here, you see it, Johanna, of the slug that came through. He puts down some slime, then picks it up, puts some down, and he ended up in the middle of all of this, poor fellow. And here he goes over here. He's on the way out. He ended up in the wrong place at the wrong time, but poor fellow hasn't been killed. He's actually doing all right. Thank goodness. How life would have ended for him in a hyena midden / wildebeest midden at the same time. That's probably not the best place to be if you're a slug. No. So, fellow, you carry on your merry way, and we are going to carry on our merry way. Lovely, lovely tracks here in the early morning. You can see how the mist or the dew settling on the ground is really, really there. Stick back into the wilderness, doing my part for putting the organic material back. And we're going to go and have a little scratch around and see how Simbambili's feeling. We've come to check our west because I'm feeling the lions, feeling the Nkuhuma pride. And so we're going to just check this boundary a little bit more. And then I'm going to check One-Eyed Pan, which is in Simbambili, and then I might catch up with the people on that side and see. Because the Nkuhumas were on Arathusa yesterday. Freddie, well, it is indeed Saturday, so let's hope we can provide you with a cat today. That would be wonderful. And I would like to provide you all with the Nkuhuma Pride or Shadulu. Both. Shadulu in a tree watching the Nkuhuma Pride, or the Nkuhuma Pride in a tree watching Shadulu on the ground. Probably the first one's going to work. I don't see Shadulu treeing a whole pride of lions, but you never know. You never know. This is a live show, everybody. Absolutely anything could happen in the morning. Within reason, I suppose. Stop being silly, Steve. I'm sorry. It's Saturday. I'm still doing my burpees, by the way. The challenge ended. I'm on another day of burpees. We're keeping going. I think it's going until the 11th of April. So keep doing your burpees if you are, and keep submitting them. Hopefully we're going to get to 1 million. Okay, well, I'm going to carry on and have a look on the west and send you over to Trico to say good morning.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to andBeyond in Ngala. And right in front of us, you can see right at the top of the tree over there, there is a secretary bird. And it hasn't moved there for a little while now. I think now it's over like maybe 4 to 5 days since it's been there. I'm just wondering if maybe there's a nest there. Everybody, hello, my name is Trico, and behind the camera I have Gert with me. Really glad that you guys can join us this morning. All right, so we're just gonna sit here and just maybe see if the secretary bird is gonna move around, but I doubt, because the sun is coming up and it's getting nice and warmer. I think it's gonna just sit there and catch a bit of warmth. And also, right over there, we have another bird. Such a beautiful bird. You can see on the throat, there's a bit of yellow. Oh, there it goes. And that was a European bee-eater. As you can see, this clearance is actually quite big, so I think that bee-eater is just out here in the early morning hunting for insects. So it's actually quite a chilly morning. I mean, even in the grass here, there's a lot of dew. So, and as I said, I think that bird is just going to sit there and get warm. Maybe it'll move around. Maybe it'll just sit up there on the tree. But eventually, I think it'll have to move looking for food. You know, like snakes, reptiles and lizards, grasshoppers. That's what it's going to be looking for. Such a quiet, beautiful morning. I hope you guys are enjoying this as much as we do out here. Yeah, I think from here we're gonna head sort of west, and we'll be looking for lions this morning.
Our lives are dictated by alarm clocks, traffic jams, constant multitasking, and countless distractions. The wilderness is where many of us feel the most human. On a bushwalk, we become part of the natural landscape. As you step off the vehicle, everything comes alive. As with any risky experience, walking amongst these animals inspires awe and appreciation. Now, it's your turn to go on a bushwalk. Join us from Pride Lands as we slow down our thoughts, put aside our distractions, and reconnect with a place that first taught us how to be human. It's the month of March, and WildEarth is offering you the chance to win a brand new prize. Sign up to be a WildEarth Explorer, and you could win a 5-day eco-training ranger experience for 2. Eco-training is the pioneer and leader in safari guide and wildlife training in Africa. The lucky winners can look forward to approaching dangerous game on foot, tracking and 4x4 driving, learning about animal behavior, and even spending one night sleeping out under a blanket of stars. In addition, you will also get the exclusive opportunity to join the WildEarth team on the broadcasting vehicle. Sign up to be an explorer now, and it could be you that wins this life-changing experience. Terms and conditions apply.
Hi, my name is Tristan Dix, and I am a guide here at Djuma Private Game Reserve for WildEarth. We love connecting you to the African bush, and we always look forward to all of your questions. If you want to ask a question on WildEarth, you'll need to register on the website. Once registered, go to our live safari page and submit a question below the live feed. Catch up with me on WildEarth.
These Impala were looking gorgeous in the mist. It looks like an Impala album cover. They're looking at a hyena walking off in that direction. You just kind of see it. This mist is just stunning. So, Ribbon and Swazi went off in the similar direction that this hyena is going in. So it might be worth it to follow that hyena. What's nice is I can still see it moving off there. You also notice that these Impala haven't alarmed at the hyena. Now they will alarm at the hyena, but they probably have picked up that they're near the den, so they probably see hyenas often. And there's a bachelor herd that hangs out here on Philemon's cutline, and this is probably a portion of it, so they're used to seeing hyenas come up and down past them and didn't feel the need to alarm, didn't feel threatened at that moment. Jackie, you'd like to know if hyenas ever hunt impala? Most definitely. Absolutely. And the way that they'll hunt impala is, especially when there's a nice big herd, that's their best chances of catching an impala. Because they'll just kind of flush, they'll just run through the herd. Sometimes as an individual, but more often when I've seen it, it's about 2 or 3 hyenas. And they run through the herd and somebody manages to catch one. The reason that a herd works better is because there's a lot more confusion that can happen when there's a big herd, and you're more likely to grab an individual with a big herd than 3 rams that could go in separate directions. And also, if there are more than one hyena hunting, then one comes from one side, the other one can kind of grab any vulnerable members of the herd. I've also seen hyenas hunt duiker. It's not something that we get to watch often, but it really is something when you do get to. Just kind of course through, and you know they have such stamina that they can run for some distance. Also, you know, the long legs, longer forequarters than hindquarters, that creates a longer stride. So if you imagine legs like a pendulum, so it moves forward and back, and that's what gives the stride to the hyena. Those front legs, the stride on those front legs is wider or longer because that pendular swing is greater. And that's more energy efficient, so they can keep going for quite a while. But they're not going to be able to outrun an impala. So an impala can run pretty fast, 70 to 80 kilometers per hour. That's why hunting in a herd, or hunting a herd, is most effective. I want to get going and follow this hyena and see where it's gone. Looks like it's moving towards Twin Dams. And this time of the morning is the perfect time to find a predator. In terms of sound, everything sounds pretty relaxed. I can hear the rattling testiculars shouting behind me, but they do shout for everything. So let's go. Let's try and follow this hyena. I'm not sure who it is. All I saw really was exactly what you saw. And without a spot pattern, I can't tell who it is. So, just having a look here for some tracks. I just see hyena. Todd, you'd like to know how far spread across Africa you get impalas? Impalas are very numerous. I don't like to use the word common because it implies that it's not a special animal, or that it's a sort of a useless animal because it's common, and it's not the case. It's very, very numerous, and you'll find them stretching from East Africa all the way down here. Up in the Mara, the impalas have much larger horns, which is quite nice to see. But they're across Africa, they're all over the place, especially if the habitat is correct. Even in areas, areas that receive below a certain rainfall, like Tswalu, still get impalas. Places that have Afro-montane forest, that's the patchy forest that you see, like if you're in KZN, you're driving around, then you'll see between the hills and things like that, there's these patches of green, very thick patches of green. That's Afro-montane forest. Even in areas like that, like in Phinda has Afro-montane forest, you're still going to get impala because they're well adapted to many environments. They're mixed feeders. They're happy in grassland and they're happy in this shrubby woodland kind of environment. That's why they're very, very successful. In fact, such a successful species that they haven't changed much for the last 6 million years. Very ancient species. That's a good indication of their success, just how long it's been just how long it's been since they've had mutation or whatever that has benefited whatever change they've found in their environment. They're so well suited that they haven't had too many of those since then. Looks like this hyena didn't come down here either, so I'm going to take this road and join Twin Dams. It might have gone straight through here. This is the bumpy bit, so I'm going to head down Twin Dams. Also check out the actual dam. See what it looks like, see if we get lucky there. But Trico is already checking out a water hole, so I wonder what's happening on that side.
Welcome back, everybody. So yeah, we just decided to come down to this water hole because, as you know, sometimes early in the morning you get these animals that will come down to the water hole, have a drink before they move around. But if you can see right on the edge of this water hole, we have lions. How exciting is that, eh? That is absolutely amazing. And if you look right on the edge, you see that lion busy drinking there. And that's a male lion there. That is so cool. As I was saying earlier on that, you get these animals that early in the morning, they'll go for a drink before they move around. And then bam, there's a lion right there. I'm going to have a closer look and see if maybe I can identify this particular male. By the look of things, looks like that young male from the Birmingham Pride. As you can see, it's starting to get a little bit warmer as well. And he's sitting right on the edge of the water because there's actually a nice little breeze that is going through there. It's getting nice and cool over there. Mandy, how often do lions come down to the waterhole for a drink? Mandy, not that often, eh? Because remember, sometimes when they make kills, they get all the moisture from the food that they eat. But usually when it's, it gets really, really warm, and maybe they haven't caught anything for a week or so, they might come quite often to the waterhole. And I saw there was another female right at the back of him. I think he's hiding behind those bushes there. I think that's probably his sister. I mean, where he's sitting is on the perfect spot because remember, as I said earlier on, some animals will come down here for a drink, and if, impalas come through, or even buffalo come here, or waterbuck, and if he hasn't eaten, he'll be on it. But even though, with lions, they're opportunistic. Even if they're full, they'll still go after the prey if they think they stand a chance of catching it. So that's a good question, and I'm glad that you can join us. So in this particular waterholes, there's no crocodiles at all. But we do have another waterhole, which is further west from where we are, just more behind where that lion is. Maybe another 3 kilometers or 2 kilometers. There is quite a few crocodiles there. And if you look right on the side of him, you'll notice there's some 2 birds there with a bit of black and white in and around the waterhole. Blacksmith lapwings. I think that lion is going to go again for a drink. Look. Oh. He just took out a stick. For a moment, I thought he saw something in the water he wanted to catch. I thought maybe he saw a fish or something. But that was just a stick. There's another lion coming through. Look at that. Another female. You see those tails swinging around. And tails of a lion can actually tell you the mood that they are in. You know, when they're irritated, sometimes the tail will swing like side to side, frequently. But you see on those tails were a little bit high up and were swinging not that frequently. So they look quite happy where they are. That's a good question. I think, Sandy, you're asking, do lions ever hunt birds? They wouldn't really go out of their way to look for birds. But I've seen youngsters, when they're young, run around trying to catch birds. But I think if, the opportunity given, if there's a bird out there that they think they can catch, I think they will, but they wouldn't get out of their way to hunt for birds. Because, also they're such big animals, they need something that will fill their big tummies. And if you can look there, that there's a bit of a shade from that tree that is right in the middle of the waterhole. And I saw that one female just laying behind there. So I'm just wondering if maybe they gonna just loop around to the other shade and lay down there, or they're gonna lie to the shade that is closest to the waterhole. But for now, I'm just going to sit here and see what these animals will do. And I will send you to another location.
At Ndlovu Dam, the young hippo, a young male hippo, I believe, has come to visit us here at the eco-training camp at Ndlovu Dam. Quite unusual to see. We haven't seen one. We saw tracks this morning. Pretty awesome. Hi, everyone. My name's Mike Anderson. Behind the camera is Niels. And as I said, you've joined us here at Pridelands Conservancy at Ndlovu Dam, right outside our camp, where we saw tracks this morning of a hippo, and we wondered where it could have been going. And there you go. There you have it. Hippo came to spend a bit of time at what I think is an actually awesome hippo habitat. It's got sandy banks, there's mud, there's shelter, there's vegetation. Everything a hippo could ever really want from a waterhole. Which is great for the hippo, not maybe so great for us having our camp right next door. It means we have to be extra vigilant at night, because this hippo was moving around at night, and that's what they do. They feed at night on the grass and vegetation around these waterholes, and a year like this when there's so much vegetation, perfect for these hippos. They don't have to move very far. You can see how perfectly well adapted that hippo is. It's just got its eyes and ears and nose right on the top of its head, so it can really stay under that water with just tips of its senses showing. They're very sensitive to the sun. Of course, they want to stay submerged as much as possible. The skin is likely to dry out and start cracking and be very uncomfortable. I don't know if you noticed, there's a lot of pinkish color around this hippo, very light skin. Now, along these places where it's very light and pink like that, I often find if they spend time out of water, they start secreting this very pinkish, almost blood-red colored fluid. And that is a special type of moisturizer that they secrete. Goodness gracious me. The Tyrannosaurus Rex somewhere in the background. Elephant, probably approaching the waterhole. But anyway, they secrete this fluid which helps to keep their skin protected from the sun. It's like a sunscreen and a moisturizer for when they're out of water. Oh, I know Dazzle wanted to ask a question, but unfortunately I lost the comms for a moment there. If you could please repeat that, Jared, and I'd love to answer that question. Ooh, the Tyrannosaurus is getting very angry. I can hear it in the far distance, trumpeting and doing all sorts of things. Oh, Lucy, who is 8 years old. It's a good question. Why is this hippo alone? This hippo is probably a young male. Now, young male hippos, or male hippos, have to fight for territories, and so their territory is usually a waterhole. And so this one might be a younger hippo who's maybe gotten pushed out of another waterhole and has had to find a place of his own. And if you ask me, this is actually a pretty good house, pretty good home. I'm sure if this waterhole stays with lots of water in this area, and we treat this hippo with respect and keep it a bit of distance, I'd like to stay here, and maybe, if we're very lucky, more hippos will arrive. Now, I don't think that many hippos will stay here long, though, unfortunately, because there's lots of elephants in this area. And as you've seen many times before here at Pridelands, the elephants pound this waterhole. There's sometimes 100 elephants at a time, or maybe that's a bit of an exaggeration, maybe 60 elephants at a time in this waterhole, swimming and playing and frolicking. And that's not a very comfortable thing for a hippo. The hippo will probably end up moving as the waterhole shrinks and gets a bit smaller. But for now, it's actually so wonderful to have it here. It just adds a whole other dimension to this waterhole. There's a couple of Egyptian geese goslings swimming around. They're actually not so far from the hippo. I've always wondered, you often see the geese swimming nearby to large mammals in the water, be it buffaloes come into the water or the elephants or these hippos. I wonder if they're hoping to catch anything that gets disturbed by these large mammals as they move in the water. They eat a variety of things, these Egyptian geese. They'll eat invertebrates, they'll eat vegetation. Oh, hippo's going under. Where are you going? Now, they can move quite quickly underwater. They trot like a horse. That's where the Afrikaans name, I think, is... Oh, I think it's the German name. Nilpferd. Coming to investigate. Good morning to you too. You see that little flick of its ears as it came up out of the water. That's what they do when they are just clearing their ears. They can block their nose, they can cover their eyes, and they even put their ears down to stop them from being infiltrated by that water. So when they come out, they just need to shake their ears out so they can hear nicely. They haven't got a great sense of hearing. You can see how small those ears are compared to their large eyes and big nostrils. Their sense of hearing is not their main sense. They will really rely on their sense of smell and their vision to spot anything approaching them. Right now it's got eyes only for me. I'm moving as little as possible so I can disturb it. It's probably just arrived here and wants a bit of privacy, it needs to settle in here. So when we're finished here with this hippo, we'll move on and give it some space. It can settle in and feel at home and comfortable, especially if there's going to be elephants that arrive a bit later in the morning as it gets warmer. It's going to be quite a stressful affair for this hippo. He's going to go a bit closer and investigate it. Amazing how once they go under, there's almost no rippling at all. It's just still, and then it just pops up somewhere else. It could be anywhere. Disconcerting. They can stay underwater for up to a few minutes, maybe some estimates 4 or 5 minutes. That might be a bit long, but an animal that spends its whole life in water wouldn't be completely unrealistic to assume that it could stay under for 4 or 5 minutes. Now, crocodiles, which we don't think there are any in this waterhole, crocodile can stay underwater for more than an hour. It's definitely not a safe thing to assume if you've been sitting at a waterhole for 45 minutes that there's no crocodile here. It'd literally just be under the water. And then all they need to do is stick their nose out, just the tip of their nose, breathe in, and go back underwater again.
Welcome back, everybody. and look at that gorgeous mountainous view of this stunning semi-savanna environment that we are currently looking at. So, update on our cheetah tracks is that we have come across further south, and we've jumped about another 2 to 3 kilometers further south through 2 different blocks. As these tracks went further south, we come across the prey of these cheetah, and it looks like these cats were hungry actually. And basically, we haven't had these tracks coming across furthermore on the road that we're currently driving on, but just we couldn't resist. Look at that stunning red hartebeest that we've just come across. So we were kind of hoping as we're sitting here that these cheetahs would be actually coming across and busy stalking on this particular site. But just so amazing seeing a red hartebeest territorial male and getting joined by a blue wildebeest male in the same territory. So often if you come into the Kalahari, people ask, so what is this animal doing on its own, and why does it look like it's so lonely? You can see vaguely through the back end of the bushes there, as because it was trying to show us there. But yeah, it's not often that these species are completely on their own. They often get to share a territory with another territorial male in a certain given area. And the thing is that, oh, we just got spooked by something there. Bird or something. There we go. Both of them joining together, and exactly what I was just talking about. But look at that stunning shine on the skin of both of those animals as they were trotting off into the distance. But yeah, just from a complete different point of view, antelope is, and I've spoken about this before, but talking about how they all being comprised together and looking at how they've been designed to survive in environments like this, especially as they were trotting there, it was quite iconically interesting looking at the slopes of the back. As you look at the wildebeest there, he's got a very strong predominant slopey back that you got there, along with the red hartebeest's back that we had and have seen there. And basically looking at the bigger picture, these antelope have all been divided into a tribe, which they've been divided into from the super cohorts that comes from the family units, and the tribe that these guys belong to. And this is obviously to describe the body posture, the way they look like, where they're going to, what they're going through to, and how do they survive. So the tribe that these guys belong to is called Alsalafini, which is basically saying slopey back antelope, and both wildebeest and red hartebeest actually, being selective grazers, belong to that slopey back antelope family. And interestingly enough, that all of them actually belong to that being selective grazers and whatsoever. So very interesting that 2 of those types that does the same type of lifestyles are sharing the same territory. Now, it's not a problem in the sense of questioning about the situation of basically, are they going to be a threat to each other? No, they aren't. It's literally just they're helping each other out in that formation, as long as it's not from the same species as it is. We're going to send you over in that sentence to Ngala with a pride of lions, while we're going to continue down the road looking for our cheetah.
Welcome back, everybody. To start with, I would just like to warn the viewers that this is what I'm about to show you is a sensitive sighting. So those guys who don't like blood or anything like that, maybe this is your time to step back a little bit. What I'm about to show you. So we just we're on the other side of the dam wall, and as we move around the dam wall, we just realized that these lions are actually successful on what it looks like a water bug, as you can see there. I mean, how amazing is that, eh? I was just looking at it. Looks like they've ate quite a lot of it. So maybe these waterbug was probably killed somewhere, maybe last night or very, very early this morning. So waterbucks generally are water dependent, so they'll be in around waterholes most of the time. So then maybe this waterbuck was maybe coming down for a drink, or maybe just finished drinking and maybe walking off. And then these lions maybe saw it and decide to take a bit of cover, and then they just work together to take it down. Julian, I think you're asking how many lions does it take to take down a waterbuck. Julian, a single lion could easily take down a waterbuck. Whether it's a male or a female lion, they could easily take it down. But if it was a big prey, like your buffalo or maybe a giraffe, that's when sometimes we'll need a bit more hands on deck to help to take it down. With this particular sighting here, I mean, looking at the number of the lions that are here, I think I've just seen 3 so far. I don't know, maybe it could be more in the thickets that we can't see. But I believe that maybe they all help each other to take down this waterbuck. But as you can see, the lions have actually moved off this kill. But they're not too far from it. They're maybe another 4 or 5 meters from the kill. But that is because most of them are actually full, so they've had enough to eat. But they might come back again as well to come have another bite, because as you can see, there's still a bit of meat left on it. But right now, I think we're gonna stay here and enjoy this and see if maybe the lions as well might return again.
On the 27th of April, WildEarth will be turning 14 years old, and we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for all of you. And to celebrate, we will be finishing the beautiful book that we started last year that looks at the history so far. But we do need you to be part of it. Please submit your most memorable sighting, or what WildEarth means to you, or even just your name and a comment to be included inside the book. Head over to the website to add your name and reserve your copy. We are offering a 20% discount on all books bought before the end of March. And a big thank you to all of you who have contributed to the book so far. For all of you WildEarth explorers who bought plaques, today is the day that you will make your very first safari on our vehicle. Because we are quite remote here in the bush, they have taken some time to arrive, but I am happy to say they are here and they look great. Marcel has spent the day attaching them. Let's take a look.
Before we mount these nameplates, we just give a light dusting of green paint. This is to better match them to the color of the vehicles and also to decrease the reflectivity of the metal and thereby staying sensitive towards the animals.
Bumbo crew. Hopefully, Dan Black, Liesel Apgar, and Alicia George. Well, it's time for me to get ready to take you all on a safari. Let's go.
here at andBeyond Ngala in South Africa. I love getting questions from viewers about all the small things within the environment and how it all is integrated with one another. If you want to ask me any questions, please simply register with the WildEarth website, head across to the Live Safari page, and then post your questions there. I'm looking forward to chatting to you on my next WildEarth drive.
Welcome back, everybody. So we are just a bit further south even from our previous time that we've been with you, and we are now looking for these tracks in a block even further south, as we are sort of tag teaming this morning with another tracking team. Another game viewer with their trackers also coming from the road that you see up front of us, and they've had the last tracks now coming onto that main road down the road towards us now, so that's why we've come even further south. Now, I haven't seen any other tracks coming further south even from into these areas and so, but we are just taking it super easy up the road, you know, just trying to figure out if they have come across here, and if they have, then we'll obviously continue going into the next block further south into those areas. And so you see, this is the thing and the beauty about the Kalahari as well, like you gotta, like especially for cheetah being traveling long distances at night, you gotta track most of the time finding these animals. But I like that challenge, eh? It's incredible actually following up on tracks and understanding what that animal has been going through in the last, let's say, 24 hours and what it needed to go through to actually succeed and survive in this particular ecosystem. But yeah, so like I was saying, we're still looking for those tracks coming through, as we haven't had anything coming across yet. So it might even be that they are in this block on our left-hand side, that they've been coming continuously south, or they might have crossed from the main road across to the block on the right. But yeah, we are literally looking at it all over the show in this area, and also we're concentrating at looking at the savanna environment as we come through here. We might even see them walking through the grasses coming through this area at the moment. Jerome, you're asking if cheetahs have territories or home ranges, and that's a really good question. Cheetahs have actually got territories, and they obviously, like any other cat-like territorial animal or so, they will actually battle against each other for territories and obviously expanding their landscape and whatsoever. But because the Kalahari is so vast, you could easily get it into a point in time where they will pretty much stretch their boundaries as far as they can and as much as they can, obviously, to survive in that matter. So you can get it where they have, well, the younger males, for instance, have much smaller territories, and then the males and coalitions have big territories and so on. But speaking of which, talking about the home ranges and so on, that's typically like your wild dogs. You would have home ranges coming through in certain areas because they obviously go wherever the wind. I like to refer to it as they go wherever the wind blows them, because they always hunt into the wind or skew into the wind. And so if the wind direction changes, that'll obviously change the direction of movement for the day as well. But yeah, they got pretty vast territories. Like you could easily, in the Kalahari, coming back to the cheetah, for instance, in the Kalahari you could easily get to a point where they stretch it to 50 to 80 kilometers in the radius, and that's typically like your leopard territories, big vast territories that you can get. But again, due to rather large coalitions that you find in the Kalahari, you could get big territories. So while we're going to continue looking for these cheetah and their tracks and themselves, we are going to be sending you over to Ngala with those lions.
All right, welcome back, everybody. So earlier on, these lions that we have here, they decided to move off the carcass, maybe to go and rest a bit because they've, I think they've had enough to eat. As you can see, they're just laying down there. So earlier on, I told you that they might be part of the Birmingham Pride, but I don't think this is the Birmingham Pride. From a distance, I thought it was, but this is a different pride. And it's quite incredible because this territory belongs to the Birmingham Pride, and these guys just came in under their nose and made a kill. So also sometimes you'd think, you would see a lot of vultures circling around, even hyenas maybe moving around in this area. And the reason that you don't see that is because where that carcass has been put in, it's actually a bit thick, so nothing really can see it. Even a vulture flying really high up, they won't really see it. And because it's so fresh, it doesn't smell bad, so even hyenas can't even smell it. Or for example, if there's other lions nearby, they won't even smell it. But as the day progresses, it's going to start to smell really, really bad. Then that's when it will attract some other lions or hyenas. Or if, for example, these lions decide to drag that carcass out of that thicket, that's when they might get seen. Danny boy, that's a good question. I'm glad that you can join us. So there in the Birmingham Pride, there's a sub-adult. Well, he's not really sub-adult. He's like 4 years old now. And we know he has a limp, a very bad limp. I think he's probably permanently paralyzed. So that's, the things that we look for. And also his mane. He doesn't have a mohawk like that, like the one that we just saw here. So this particular lion looks like he's healthy and is walking nicely. So that's what made me decide that that's not the Birmingham Pride. And also remember, Danny boy, there's a lot of lions that come in and out of this property. Some lions come in that we've never seen before, but they tend to not stay longer here. They tend to stay maybe a week or maybe even 2 days, and then they move out of our reserve. Nkosi, welcome. Glad you can join us as well. Nkosi, the thing is, there's a lot of competition between these two animals. Competition for food. And also in general, these animals, they just do not like one another. They actually hate each other. If a hyena is about to pop out here, these lions will definitely start to chase them. So yeah, they just don't like each other. But there's that male coming out. So Danny boy, you can see this male, he's moving nicely. It doesn't look like he's limping. So per your questions, you'll see this is not part of the Birmingham Pride. Let's wait and see. Maybe he might go down for another drink again. All right, I think we're gonna move a little bit forward so that we're gonna have a better view. Vicky, what could happen if they meet up with the Birminghams? That's a good question, Vicky. So what will happen is there's gonna be a big fight, okay? And the Birmingham Pride is a huge pride with a lot of lions in it. Well, this pride here that we are looking at right now, I think we've only just seen 3 animals or 4 animals. So I would give the Birmingham Pride an upper hand. I think they'll chase this animal off the property, and to an extent even kill them. Let's just wait. This male is just behind that bush there, and see if maybe he's gonna come out of the bush. If he doesn't, we'll maybe move a little bit so that we can get a better view. Okay, looks like he's going up on that hill there. He's heading in that direction. Maybe something caught his attention. Or maybe he just want to find a nice bush. Or a nice shade, rather, to lay down. I think we're gonna sit here and see what this pride will do next. But for now, I think I'm gonna send you to Steve in Juma.
Welcome to Simbambili, everybody, to what they call the Makulu open area. Beautiful open grassland. Nice to be out here and about. We haven't managed to find any of our lion energy this morning, which seems Trico has managed to capture, which is great. We still have time. The Umkuhuma Pride are on Shirley's, which is south of us. And there's been no report of the Telemati Pride, so we just thought we'd come on to Simbambili, which does mean 3 lions, because I feel like that is what it was calling us today. But at the same time, while out in an open area like this, it also bodes well to scan with binoculars, reminiscent of times in the Mara. When you just drive along, scan with binoculars, it's amazing what wonders you can find. Everybody. Jared, you asked me a question from Tom about how something lions are on game reserves, how prevalent, I didn't get the whole question there. Tom, there are lots of lions around. There are lots of lions in reserves. That's where they are kept safe. The lions do not survive outside of game reserves for very long due to their nature. There is a hugely competitive sort of human-wildlife conflict situation around Africa, around the world. And where you have human settlements, you don't generally have predators. It's just the way it is, everybody. We don't live in harmony with predators anymore. And predators that do come in and out of local communities outside of reserves, unfortunately, they normally get the bad end of the stick. So, for the most part, predators around the world only survive in conservation areas that have been proclaimed conservation areas and where pretty much human influence is mitigated. It's a very sad state of affairs, to be honest, but we talk about conflict, we talk about inter-specific competition from an ecological point of view. The strongest predator or the strongest always wins. And so man is the strongest, everybody, due to the technology and the tools and our mind. If only we could harness that mind into an area where we could live in harmony with the wild animals. There are countries in the world that are trying to do that quite well. But for the most part, agriculture and livestock are the way forward. And there are many, many communities that live or depend off of their livestock. And livestock are much easier to catch than a gazelle or a buffalo. So that is a discussion that can go on for hours, Tom. A really, really long time. It might be a bit early in the morning to be delving too deep into such topics. But we're going to carry on, see if we can find you some of our wonderful cats on the Saturday. And I think we're sending you back over to Trico and his lions.
Yes, welcome back, everybody. Remember I said, earlier on, this particular male lion, particular young male lion, was moving around. I was thinking maybe something had an interest in something, but I think he just wanted to move from that area where the carcass is to a better shade. He's just lying under this huge tree here. You can see how he has his mouth open, slightly breathing heavily. There's another young female coming through there. Also decided this is a better place to lay down. Oh, look at that. The one that I like about lions, they're so affectionate to one another. As I was saying, you see how he's breathing, slightly heavily breathing. So because he had so much to eat, I'm sure once in our lifetime we've all had that where we've had too much to eat and we can't breathe properly. That's what is happening to this lion because the food that he's just had is, pushing against his diaphragm. That's why he's panting like that. There's an interesting scent on the ground that is trying to sniff. Botanical, I think the question you asked is, you surprised to see them moving at this time of the day? That's a good question. I'm glad you can join us. So, you know, the sun still hasn't been like that very, very warm that they can't move around. I mean, they will still move, but they won't move like long distances, right? They'll just move from one shade to another. But also remember, this is not their territory, so they have to be on the lookout all the time. So maybe that's why they're moving around. Also, they're moving further and further from where the carcass is. And I guess they know as well that, if, other lions come here, they're going to be in a conflict. But I think as the day progresses, I think they're going to find, maybe where they are, they might lay down there, or maybe even move to another shaded area, or maybe a thicket. Because they're so full, they don't have to walk around. Plus, it's going to be warm as well. So they'll just rest, help digest the food. If they need to come back to the waterhole, they'll come back here to have a drink, or to go to another waterhole to have a drink to help to digest the food that they've just had. Oh, look at legs sticking up. And that young one that is standing there, that female there, it's actually a youngster. Becky, I believe you're asking if predators' territories ever overlap. So, some predators, yes, their territories will overlap. Like, for example, cheetahs and leopards, especially the females, they will share, some of their territories with their young, especially after independence. They will still, come around in that area. But with lions, they don't. They won't share their territories with other lions. So if other lions come into their territory, there's going to be 100% sure a lot of fighting that's going to happen. So I was mentioning the other lion that we saw, the female. She looked like a youngster. I saw the color on the nose was sort of a little bit still pinkish in color. So still young. I would say maybe a year and a half to 2 years. Still a young one. But this male here that we can see that is close to that tree, I think is around maybe 2.5 to 3 years old. You can see his mane is not still yet, well developed. And, the nose part, if you look at the color of the nose, it's still pinkish in color, because remember, as they get older, that gets darker in color. To be honest, I don't think from right now these two lions are going to move at all. They look quite content. Nsuku, can one lion kill an adult buffalo? That is a good question, Suku. Yes, and I've actually seen that with this one male taking one in a buffalo. It's not easy, that I can tell you, because that buffalo, kept a very good fight. So yeah, they can do it by themselves. So, like the other female that I saw, like, I didn't have a proper look. The other ones that are just behind us, of sort of like what age they could be. But this one that we just saw here, doesn't look like it's sexually mature. So I think if the Birmingham Pride come here, they'll probably just try to eliminate them. And Kathy, also remember the Birmingham Pride, they have a lot of females in the Pride, the Birmingham males. So there's no need for them to, go and take over other territory. Just rather, stick with the females that they have here. So they wouldn't really bother mating with these particular lions or particular females that we just saw here. So if you do come around here, I think, these lions will just run as fast as they can and try to stay out of this territory. And also you look at this young female, she's always on the lookout there. It's like as if they're not sure or not comfortable in this area. So they're always on the lookout. But I think for now, we're just going to still sit with these lions here and see what they do next.
We stopped as the dusk was settling and there was a zebra mare underneath the bush. She was lying down. We didn't really know what was happening, and then we saw it.
Everybody, there's a zebra giving birth there. There's a zebra giving birth. This is a zebra giving birth. Look at that. Look at that. Oh, you clever mare. Well done. It's born, everyone. It's born and it's alive and it looks fine.
This was, of course, an unusual sighting. Normally, herbivores like Impala and wildebeest and zebra will give birth during the middle of the day. This is when their predators like lions and hyenas are fast asleep. But as this little foal took its first steps, the dying embers of the day had just gone over the western horizon, and it was just the time that the hyenas and lions were starting to get active and go out foraging. This is why we didn't light up the sighting, of course. It may have compromised the zebra's eyes and at the same time attracted those hyenas and lions to the activity.
For many years, WildEarth has taken viewers from around the world to the Mara Triangle, a place of majestic beauty and abundant wildlife. But it wasn't always like this. Before 2001, it was infested with poachers. Illegal harvesting and hunting was rife. Now the situation couldn't be more different. The hard work and dedication of the Mara Conservancy has revolutionized this magical land. But now, the loss of revenue from tourism has created a grave crisis. The Mara Conservancy needs help if they are to continue protecting the reserve and supporting the local communities whose livelihood depend on its survival.
My name is Ross and I'm a field guide at andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. I love getting questions from guests on WildEarth because I love sharing and learning information about nature with new people, and it also makes me feel like you're all joining me in real life. If you want to ask a question on WildEarth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, go to our live safari page and submit your question below our live feed.
Alright, so as you can see further back there, there's another young female there that just joined like maybe a few seconds ago. So it looked like this female that is closest to us and that one closer to the tree, they look like they're the same size, so probably from the same litter. And also now just sitting here on this edge of this waterhole, there's a bit of a breeze, a light, cool breeze, which is actually quite nice. So I think that's why these lions are actually even laying down close to this waterhole. I mean, the breeze is so nice and they have the nice shade there. I mean, I think they're loving life where they are. I believe the question is, will these lions be able to fight even when they are full? Definitely. They'll still put up a good fight. And I mean, I understand, you can see the belly is actually quite big. Almost looks like they've swallowed a basketball with all that meat that they've just ate. But if they had to fight, I mean, that is nothing. They'll still put up a good fight. And also just sitting here, it's a bit unusual to find these sort of a pride makeup. Because usually you think there would be another sort of like older females or their mothers would be here. I mean, they could be here somewhere around. Maybe this morning or last night. Or maybe when they were hunting. Maybe just before they take down this water buck just behind us. Sometimes they do split up when they're hunting. So maybe they've just split up a little bit. But also, even though they did split up, I mean, finding each other wouldn't be that difficult. Because, I mean, lions have such a great sense of smell. Or sometimes they vocalize. So like a contact call, they have this such low sort of growling call. And that's how they help to find one another if they lose each other. It's quite incredible. Earlier on when we came, there were like very little number of birds around. And now as the sun starting to even heat up a little bit more, you start to have a lot of birds around. As you can hear, there's a lot of calls around. I can hear some buffalo weavers just behind us. I just saw some Egyptian goose and some hammerkops around. So this is the place to be. I believe, Taliso, you want to know if lions choose their territories in places where there's water. Yeah, definitely. Water is very, very important. I mean, their territories will have areas that have, water holes around. Because, I mean, they have to drink. Especially in a day like this when it's this warm and they've ate like that. You need to have water around your territory to help digest the food and to help cool down. I just think earlier on I just saw that one female going past. Just wondering, maybe she's going back to the carcass again, or she's just gonna lay down, maybe just behind us. Yeah, I can't see her for now. There's some few bushes around, but I'm thinking maybe she might go back to where that kill is at. So that male lion on the other side, that young male lion, it seems like he's still, within this pride. So as he reaches, he's 2.5 years old or 3 years old, somewhere around there, at the point where he has to leave his pride, or get kicked out of the pride. And in that moment, that's I would say, the most dangerous and also exciting time of his life. Because when he becomes a nomad, he moves in and out of other lions' territories. But sometimes they will meet up with other lions that are in the same predicament. And then they will link up and form a coalition. And then move into a certain area and try to take over their own territory. It sounds easy when I say it, but taking over a territory is not an easy thing, because, for example, if he does move to a different area and start to fight the males that are from that area, they won't back down. I mean, he might win the fight and he might also lose the fight. So yeah, he has some exciting times coming ahead of him. I mean, if you can look at this female just laying down here, Can you look on the stomach? Or along the ribs? You can actually see her breathing. As I said, he's breathing very frantically because of the amount of food that she just had. I think for now, just gonna sit here, keep quiet and take everything in. So while we're still sitting here and taking everything in, I would like to send you to Mike in Prrivate.
We went for a bit of a walk, didn't find anything much, so we've come back to Ndlovu Dam and the elephants have arrived, which is pretty awesome. Now we get to see if there's any interaction between these elephants and the hippo that is still in the dam. This young elephant bull, it looks like an elephant bull, just having a bit of a drink where the water isn't so muddy, right in the middle of the waterhole there. A few other young bulls playing in the mud just to the left of this one. Gingerly, tentatively making their way to the water. It's just having a bit of a think. Wondering what's next on the agenda for today. You're an elephant. What do you do? Look at the way it's holding its tail up like that. It's almost like the water's a bit cold and it doesn't want to put its tail in the water directly. That's funny. I'm sure it's going to make its way to the shallower part and then maybe have a bit of a swim there, or at least a lie down. It's always very nice to see the elephants coming to the dam. And there's probably going to be a very hot day again today, so you might find that there's going to be dozens of elephants that arrive pretty shortly. I think we'll probably spend the rest of the afternoon just waiting here. There's not really much point to move around, especially as it gets hotter. Most animals are going to find their way to the water or into the shade somewhere, so stick around here a little bit. Maybe this afternoon we'll try again to adventure and see what else is around. Little elephants now there. You can see the younger bulls having a bit of a play. They're just at the water's edge in that muddy patch where they often do a bit of mud wallowing. That's where the females often take their youngsters. As I've mentioned before, the water is very deep, and so it's not comfortable for them to take their babies into the deep water, especially if there's lots of bulls around who might get a little bit playful. Problems. I wonder if it smells there as well, because of all the females and youngsters that go there. Could have a lot of interesting scents for these young males. They're not yet at their breeding age, but definitely been pushed out of the herds, old enough now, wanting to start maybe becoming interested in the females. This other elephant bull is now lying down in the water, or at least kneeling down in there. Fiona, no, it's definitely possible for an elephant to be attacked. So if a bull hippo, a big male, that elephant just roll upside down. Look what it's doing. Fiona, sometimes it does happen. The hippos might get a bit aggressive with younger elephants. For an elephant bull this size, very unlikely to ever get attacked by a hippo. And crocodiles as well have been known at times to bite the trunk of an elephant. It's again quite an unusual occurrence. I mean, it's been filmed and it's been documented, but it's not something that happens regularly, let's put it that way. They're just far too big, far too strong, and any animal that does try and attack an elephant is likely to come off second best, let's be honest. Elephants are the biggest and most powerful animals around, and they've got those weapons. Fiona, you can see those massive tusks. I mean, that is a spear with, that elephant's 3 tons probably at least. A spear with 3 tons of force behind it. I'm not just going to stop it. Oh, doing a handstand. It's a circus elephant. I think it's practicing its synchronized swimming. And in reality, I often wonder what elephants are doing when they do that. I actually think that they clean their teeth like that by shoving their teeth into that soft, silty mud at the bottom. The abrasion helps to clean that ivory, that long tusk. And then, of course, as they pull it out, the water rinses it to make it nice and clean. I think that's what's happening. When it lifts its trunk up like that, that's typical of when they're trying to smell something on the air. Of gas in that belly. You can see it's literally, belly is floating in the water. It really struggles to get down. A bit of a breath there. This. It's very comfortable. Now it's literally just sitting on its bum in the water. Julia, I agree. Elephants, they always have fun. I feel like elephants are always making the most of life, just because if you're so big and you're so strong, there's not really much point to have any worries. I mean, as long as you've got enough food, you've got plenty of water. If you're a male, there's females around. Life is great. If I was an elephant, I'd also have the most amount of fun. Every now and again, you can hear a big deep breath. That's the hippo. Hippo's far off to the left of where these elephants are. It's moved from where it was. Give the elephants enough space that it doesn't come into any conflict. So while we see how this develops with these elephants and this hippo and the geese and goslings, we'll send you over to Tshala, who's also at a waterhole.
Well, Mike, I'm also at a waterhole. I'm here at Chitwa Dam. And I see a lovely fish eagle. But I must admit, I've come to Chitwa in the hopes that I would be able to bring Catidae to fruition. A leopard. Even just some evidence of a leopard would be really, really good. Well, we have our fish eagle here. Really nice. It looks like it might be a female. The females are larger than the males, but they also have quite a much broader, not much, but a broader kind of bib, a chest bit. And we know that it's a couple that live here. I'm not sure where this one's mate is at the moment. Very, very regal looking bird, and also a very iconic sound in South Africa, that call of a fish eagle. I especially like when they call, they throw their heads back. And even in flight, they throw their heads back when they call. It's really special to watch. In fact, they have that very typical, when someone thinks eagle, you sort of think, oh, or in your head you have American eagles and bald eagle, and this kind of looks like that kind of iconic eagle look. Yeah. Anyway, there's another bird of prey at one of our locations, so why don't you go over and have a look.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Kalahari, and we've just come across a stunning juvenile pale chanting goshawk in this area. And as we've driven past the site, I said to BK, yo, we just need to put this thing on the screen. That is so beautiful in that beautiful, gorgeous white clouds. Now, he looks very deceiving at the moment on the coloration that this guy has. There we go, the beautiful banding on the tail and the predominant white marking just above the tail as it is. And so that tail that you see there with the beautiful brown speckles on all over the body itself and so on, that is your typical coloration of the juveniles of these guys. I was actually, when we came through, I almost thought it's a juvenile brown snake eagle or a rose eagle youngster, very, very young one. But yeah, it's but the dead giveaway there is the red legs basically that you can find on these guys, and then obviously the banding on the tail, and then that beautiful white strip band and so on. But yeah, gorgeous to have seen that in that setting, on that dead branch, basically on the top of the actual rocks of the hilltop there, but also looking at the clouds moving through, as it looks like we are set to have a bit of, well, a few drops of rain maybe again later on today. Update on that cheetah that we've been tracking and so on. We have located those two males in a very gorgeous valley, in one of the valleys of Tswalu here. And as we just came out of the valley, we've come across this beautiful, stunning pale chanting goshawk juvenile. But yeah, unfortunately, we couldn't have, well, we just ran out of signal as we come in behind a mountain. And yeah, we unfortunately couldn't show you guys there, but yeah, it doesn't matter. We're going to try again at a different point in time, and we are actually going to be driving into the dunes a bit furthermore, and let's just see what we can see furthermore into the dunes. Maybe we can possibly pick up on another cheetah in a different location as well. And also the dunes is obviously the main environment of where those guys goes out and about to go out and hunt into, as they hunt perfectly in such environments with those open savanna clear sections. So the area that we found these cheetahs in is actually a savanna environment, but it's just the first entrances of one of the valley sections in the mountains and so. And the mountains are just quite hilly in this area, and this is why we just ran out of sight there of the tower. But yeah, we'll drive a bit further west from here and see what we can see furthermore on these other cheetah in this area. Myself and one of the conservators on the reserve were actually chatting about cheetah numbers yesterday, and talking about, well, counting the numbers that we know of, basically. And the thing is that the cheetah population on Tswalu is so big that that it's actually doing really, really well. Looking at the actual numbers and the wealth of the cheetah population on Tswalu, it's actually doing really well. And yes, it's phenomenal actually what we got to conclusions of populations of cheetah that's been coming to arise. It's really been doing really successful in these areas as we come across, especially in the dunes, because they're adequate landscape, looking also at the vast amount of land that there is actually for them. And the reason why these boys could have come, well, would have come into this area is we had constantly quite a bit of tracks of them hunting into these areas. They were constantly hunting, and they came to a spot where we found them, where they were resting actually, and they were looking for the height of the hills over here as they were looking across the dune fields out to the west, and even the savanna environments in this valley section. But you can see the nice tops of the hills here as we driven into this areas. And yeah, very, very beautiful. Look at that cloud formations coming over here. But yeah, clever hunting actually, if you think about it, how they make use of these hills from a good vantage point, hunting into the good savannas of the Kalahari. But yeah, we're going to continue west, as I said, and see if we can find some more cheetah out further west.
On the 27th of April, WildEarth will be turning 14 years old, and we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for all of you. And to celebrate, we will be finishing the beautiful book that we started last year that looks at the history so far. But we do need you to be part of it. Please submit your most memorable sighting, or what WildEarth means to you, or even just your name and a comment to be included inside the book. over to the website to add your name and reserve your copy. We are offering a 20% discount on all books bought before the end of March. And a big thank you to all of you who have contributed to the book so far.
Staying one step ahead is the key to survival out in the African wild. And now you can stay in front of the pack with a WildEarth weekly newsletter. Sign up to be a WildEarth explorer and you will get exclusive behind-the-scenes stories about your favorite guides and camera operators. Information about our upcoming plans and projects will be delivered to your inbox every week before anyone else. And you can hone your guiding skills by taking part in our Identify Me nature quizzes. WildEarth explorers, it's in your nature.
I love being a cam op for WildEarth. The animals coming right up close to you, especially like lions. Sometimes you get nervous, but you have to go with the flow. My favorite animal to film is the elephant because of how big it is. But when it's really up close to you, it's one animal that you would say, I really respect you.
What are you looking at, man? That's its gangster face. It has the manners of a common variety vagabond. Look at it, chewing with its mouth open like that.
Look at this cutie. It's a water monitor. It's looking particularly big today. I think it's just because it's out of the water and we can see its whole body. It's basking in the sun, much like I am. That's a big guy. Also looks like he's recently had a meal because it looks quite large, especially around the belly area. With reptiles, it's really important that when they have big meals, they do so when there's enough energy, enough sunlight around, because their metabolic processes are governed by the availability of energy in the form of heat. And sometimes, if a reptile eats a big meal and it's a cold day, they can actually die if they're not able to digest their food within a few days. If it's constantly cold, like for 3 or 4 days after they've eaten, it can become a problem. So perhaps because it's a nice warm day, it's taken advantage of it and got itself a good meal. Got a nice look at their long claws there. They're excellent diggers. In December, I think I had a wonderful sighting of a water monitor digging in the Mulwati, and eventually it caught a frog. After digging and digging and digging, but it was so persistent in its digging, and also its claws really worked for it, pulling aside the sand. Annette, you say these claws look like they can do some serious damage. Absolutely. You know, some people have tried in the past to keep both rock monitors and water monitors as pets. But apparently it's one of the most difficult animals to try and domesticate. It can be done. I mean, some people do have them in their wild spaces, like if they have big gardens or your farms and things like that, and there happens to be one of them around, and then they can become a little bit used to humans. But to actually have it like a pet, apparently it's crazy, the amount of scratches you come away with, and because obviously of these claws, and they're also going to bite, things like that. They definitely don't want to be confined. They don't want to be touched. Nothing like that. It's also interesting to note that most large reptiles, or large lizards rather, like monitor lizards, iguanas, things like that, they actually do have... Oh, that was the fishing book calling in the background. These large lizards, actually, most of them have venom glands in their jaws. It may not be a very toxic or a very strong venom at all, but it will cause some sort of irritation. So if this guy bites you, there's going to be some sort of reaction on your skin. It was actually a really interesting thing to have found out. So in their jaw, underneath their teeth, there are little pockets, little venom glands. But like I said, the efficacy of those things is different amongst the different species, and we only think of it like with a Komodo dragon. It's obvious that they have venom in those venom glands, and that's venom that can really affect you if you're bitten by one. In the past, it used to be thought that it's bacteria that causes all the reactions on skin, but in fact it is the venom produced by those glands in the jaw. Monitor lizards would have a similar thing, but like I said, the strength of that venom is much more reduced, so you don't think of it as venom, you just think of it, oh, it bit you and it doesn't feel good on your skin. It's in the same way as sometimes you get bitten by a spider whose venom is just useless on you. It might give you a bit of an itch and that's it. Well, other times you can get bitten by a spider like a black widow spider or a brown button spider here in South Africa, and you'll have medical complications if it's not attended to. Even if it is attended to, you can still have complications. That venom can be in the saliva, and that by chewing it can stimulate the production of saliva, and you would have seen that again with the Komodo dragon, all that saliva hanging off of it. All be lots of venom. It looks like it's been shedding. If you look at the skin on the back, you see some is poking out. There we go. Looks like it's shedding. And the color underneath is very vivid. Very cool there. I had a question about its ear holes. If those are its ear holes behind its, or just, there we go. Going to show us a little bit of it. Those are its ear holes, but I didn't get the viewer's name. I'm sure that I will say hi to you in my next segment, but I'm going to send you over to Mike in Prrivate and move on from our monitor friend here.
So while we were watching the elephants, I was looking around to see what other interesting things were here. The elephants subsequently moved off, and I saw this plant next to us here. I know I've talked about this tree before, but some of you might not have heard. This is a very cool plant. This is called a satin-barked saucerberry. Now, it's never usually growing very tall, and it's got a very strangely sort of fluted trunk. It's not smooth and round. It's quite fluted, which means that it's got a curvy edges, wavy edges, and the bark is quite smooth and satin-like. But now it also has another use. It can be used as sandpaper, and I'll pick a little leaf here. So there's a leaf just over there, nice big rough leaf. So if I pick that leaf, then I'm going to hold it up for you so you can see it. I don't know if you can see that leaf there. That is very rough, the texture on this leaf. And it's very sandpaper-like. It's one of the distinctive features of this tree. Now, many trees have a sandpaper-like texture, but this is one of the very best. So I'll show you now. There's the wood here is very rough. It's not smooth at all. When I rub my finger over it, it's quite coarse. If I take this little bit of a leaf here, and rub it, you might even be able to see some of the flakes of the bark actually coming off that. It's incredible how effective it is. Now, because it's a leaf, it doesn't last very good, but I've literally seen the students in camp use these for sanding some pieces of wood they got in order to do carvings on them, and it's incredible what you can do. So much of nature is lost when we just don't read enough or experience enough or experiment enough. So now I've moved the leaf 3 or 4 times over this branch. You can still see some of the flakes coming off as I do this. But now, when I feel this, it's incredibly smooth. In fact, you can even see the change in the color. That dried, sun-bleached wood is starting to change into beautiful golden-colored underwood. It's very, very smooth. The satin-barked saucerberry. Now, the other use of this plant, although it's not widely used for it, the fruit is edible, although not very tasty. And in Afrikaans, one of the names for this plant is snotberry, because it is having a very jelly-like texture, very pulpy, jelly-like texture. Nice big orange fruit, probably about the size of a small grape. But yeah, when you eat it, it's not particularly tasty, and it has a very mucus-like texture, which isn't so pleasant. But they often get eaten by many animals. As you can see, it's been smashed and broken by elephants. So even though it's quite rough and the leaves are not super soft, animals do tend to eat it every now and again. Satin-barked saucerberry, Cordia ovalis, for those of you who are interested. So while we wait at the waterhole to see what else might come down, we'll send you over to Tswalu, I think.
I think he's gone. Welcome back, everybody. So what we are looking at is not the bush itself. We are looking at the set of horns moving behind the bush. So as we've progressed, as we said earlier, going further west, we have come across this stunning sable bull. We've had a great view of him just now as he was in front of this bush, and now you can see he's moving a bit further to the back end of this bush. So what we're going to do is we're going to just pull a bit further to the front and just see if we can't get a bit of a better visual there, and see what we can get to show you this stunning animal. Yeah, there we go. There's the horns coming out again over there. Stunning horns on the sable antelope. So very interesting. If you look at the horns on this guy, it's very curved back horns, and he's just found a lovely nutritious bush that he's just feeding on there now. This thing is with look at that mask looking through that the edge of that leaflet, the leaves coming through there as well. So sable, like oryx, is actually predominantly feeding most of the time on the grasses and so on, but then they also can adjust and adapt, like the rest of the Kalahari animals, to adapt to eat on different food resources right throughout the year. So as you can see, this guy has just found a lovely bush that he's been eating on there. This one that we are looking at currently is a raisin bush, a velvet leaf raisin. And so especially we've just came out of that season now where all the raisins has been abundant on the raisin bushes and so, but yeah, they will go over to eating on the leaves of this raisin bush as well, quite a bit. But yeah, Bottom line is Sable, like Oryx, being part of the Oryx tribal family, they can adjust and adapt to feeding on beautiful bushman grasses in this particular environment, but also going over to great nutritious shepherd's trees, raisin bushes, as well as great camel thorn activity that they feed on. So we're going to send you back over to Trish in Juma.
We found the pied kingfisher. Gosh, I love watching them so much. This one's been very busy. It's actually been coming quite close to us, like right here, and hovering. Oh, here it comes. Oh, they're so beautiful the way they hunt like that. Yeah, now it's really close to us. What a treat. What a treat. Even closer. It's right here. It's about 3 meters from the car. False alarm. Mid-flight, it just chased away some swallows. Isn't it mesmerizing? No luck this time, but... There's a hippo quite close to us. So I may have to just move before this guy gets a little bit... Let's see where he's moving. You're moving away, hippo? It's just aware at the dip of the... Okay, he's good. He's moved away. We're in the dip where the overflow of the dam is, so we're kind of almost at eye level. Cornhusker, good morning. He'd like to know if he's looking for fish. He certainly is looking for fish, not just fish, tadpoles, frogs, little invertebrates. Oh, it's all the way there. Can you imagine how much energy it must take to sustain that hover hunting style? I can only imagine. And back there. I'm just going to reverse a little bit and see what the story is behind us here. There's lots of shouting happening. Lisa, you asked about the monitor's ear holes. Those little ones at the back there, yep, they were in fact his ear holes. Their hearing is mostly in a low frequency, and it peaks around 700 hertz. So a lot of what they hear travels on the ground as opposed to in the air. Just wanted to check if there's something going on here. Nothing. I'm a bit suspicious. Feels like there's a lot of sound happening. But I cannot just off-road because I'm suspicious, unfortunately. Guys, you say Chitwa is your favorite dam? Let me show you over here. This is what I mean, is right here by the overflow. It's a nice perspective on the dam. So often we're up there, but because the dam's so wonderful and full, we're just, it almost feels like you could just jump in until you see that massive hippo looking straight at you. Starting to get really hot now, but that's a beautiful reflection in the dam. I want to get up and check one more road before we leave Chitwa. Give me 1 second. Goodbye, water monitor. It was lovely to spend some time with you. Jerome, you'd like to know if there's anything someone could do to survive a hippo attack in water. If the hippo is already attacking you, not. If you are in the water and you see a hippo, get out of the water as soon as possible. Because the whole reason that a hippo is very territorial, and you are this random thing in its territory. So it's going to go after you. If you can remove yourself from its territory, that's going to be better. The water is the area of safety for a hippo. So it's not going to make an extra effort to come out of its space of safety to go after you, unless you are a threat. So if you can get out of the water and run as far and fast as you can, that would be best. The hippo's not it will always prefer to be in its space of safety. And that's actually why there are, or the reason behind many of the hippo attacks or confrontations outside of the waters. It's usually because humans are between a hippo and its water. And settlements, when people are camping, when ancient people were moving through the continent, they would settle in areas with water, and areas with water had hippos. So then there was a lot of conflict between humans and hippos, because often the humans set up camp or set up settlements around the water's edge, and now hippo goes out of the water to graze and wants to come back to the water, and now the humans are in the way. So it's trying to get to its place of safety, and humans have set up shop there. But also, if you're already in the water, just try and get away. Try and climb up, a dead tree or something like that. But when it comes to those kind of situations, once you're in that situation, it's totally unpredictable. You are completely at the mercy of whatever is going to happen. You have no control. So the best form of control there is to not get yourself into that situation, obviously. Anyway, I'm going to check this last road on Chitwa before we head off back to Juma and send you over to Yuan, who's on a bumble.
And out from the edge of the bush comes 2 ostriches right now. Yes, we've literally just had these ostriches moving through in this beautiful plain section, and I was expecting them to pop out there pretty soon and so, but yeah, they've just disappeared in behind that bush. Let's pull a bit forward and just see if we can't get another visual over there, see what we can get. But yeah, they a male and a female that's been combining up together there. There we go. So there they've just popped out again. You see them there, big, there we go. So very, very beautiful seeing that combination actually between the male and the female. Obviously the female, the one on the right, male's the one on the left, obviously with a beautiful black coat that he's carrying over there. And these guys have been picking up a lot of grass seeds in these plains lately, as lots of these grasses in fluorescence are in full bloom in their seeds, especially the bushman grasses, as well as lots of the eragrostuses and so on. But yeah, pretty special to see these 2-legged giants coming through these particular areas, feeding on these grasses. Very interesting seeing the tail of this male that Bika is focused on here as well. You'll see the tail of this guy is very different in color as well, as opposed to most of your ostriches that you find in the rest of areas of Africa. And the thing is that all birds do dust bathing and all of that. And so obviously in the Kalahari sand, especially in the green Kalahari, which is where we are located at, the white tip of the tail actually swims through the sand as they do dust bathing, and then it literally colors the tail being blood red in color, and that's where the difference in the color comes from. Beautiful coloration. Often if we get big thunderstorms and rainstorms and so, sometimes it washes the color, it fades a tiny bit, but then the first dust bath that they do, maintaining the feathers and stimulation of the skin through that behavior, then they get that beautiful red dye on the tip of the tail. And because there's, again, vast wilderness landscape for them out here to live in, their bodies are a bit thinner than the ostriches that you would find on, for instance, a breeding station or a ostrich farm. For those of you that's been to Africa before, and South Africa, been to Oudtshoorn and those areas, you would have gone to that ostrich farms around that region, and you'd see the difference clearly between those ostriches as opposed to ostriches in the wild. And this is indeed that, actually. Ostriches are actually wilderness animals, as it is. Zulu boy, you're wondering how long does it take an ostrich to get to fully grown stages? So ostriches, they actually grow fairly quickly, and they bloat in size, but they do get hunted on by cheetahs and especially wild dogs in this region. If the chicks are very, very small, especially get hunted by cheetahs. So there's a lot of impact coming onto their lives when they're in the wilderness, obviously, but they're very sharp-sensed animals. So bottom line of what I'm trying to say is that if you look at how much they've been caught and impacted and so on, they have to grow very quickly to adjust and adapt to a strong wilderness environment. So it takes about a good year to get them to a really good, strong size. Within a year, you'll see that they have grown to a size that it almost looks like an adult, but you can see there's still gap and room for growing. But yeah, that doesn't take them too long. 6 months into it, they've already doubled and tripled in size from the baby sizes and so on. When an ostrich gets born, I'm sure some of you have seen ostrich eggs before and so on, but they get born up to a size of about just a tiny bit bigger than a banana, and then within the first 2 months or so, they will double the size. They'll become the size of a ruler, basically, and within the first 6 months then, it'll be almost a meter in height already, as how they grow. And then from there, it just bloats in size, especially with the amount of food resources that we have at the moment. It's just crazy how quickly they can pick up on the pace of growth. But stunning coloration, coming back to the colors there, stunning coloration that we can see there from the male versus the female in sexual dimorphism that we can see here. Male being pitch black in color, females in gray. And saying that, if you look at the males being pitch black in color, you obviously ask the next question. So we are in one of the environments of extremes in this region of the Kalahari. Or the Kalahari, in that matter, is actually known as an environment of extremes. So if you think about being one of the hottest environments in the world, it basically comes up, so what is a pitch black animal then doing in the Kalahari? Now this links back to the Tswalu Foundation, and there's been research that's been done before, and the same question comes up with the Kalahari black-maned lions and all of that, dark animals like the Sable that we've been looking at before. So the thicker the black coat, the more it's absorbing the light, obviously the darker the coloration as well. So the actual hypothesis goes that if you look at the outer skin and the outer layer, not the outer skin, the outer layer of that puffy black coat, it actually absorbs the heat. And then it reduces to the inner layers of closer to the body. Then it reduces the temperature because the outer layer is like a cage catching that, or like a cage catching the heat up into that outer layer. So then it cools down towards the inner body section. But yeah, if you think about it, it doesn't say that this animal is deliberately going to walk in the sun, and just because it's got adaptations to deal with the Kalahari's condition. It doesn't say that at all, actually. It's just one of the survival strategies and ways to deal with the conditions in the Kalahari. Otherwise, you'll see ostriches still taking a duck for shade into nice, comfortable environments and so. It actually looks like this ostrich male was feeding quite nicely on some of the grasses in the area. But also there's a lot of flowering plants at the moment still active, like the gemsbok cucumber that we've obviously been seeing, that fruits of the gemsbok cucumber, or if you wish, the vegetables of that. And we've been looking at them and putting them on the screen over the last month especially. And the leaves of that gemsbok cucumber creeper plants, you will have the leaves being fed on by ostriches as well. But there's lots of other flowers, from the indigo ferres to the springbok opslag, which is Afrikaans name for ostrich herb, and all of that in that areas of these plain sections, a wide range of flowering plants that they could feed on as well in these given areas. Very interesting. I don't know if you can see that on the screen while we're looking at these ostriches. You can see the temperatures rising dramatically today as opposed to the last 2 days. Mandy, you're asking, is it true if ostriches have small brains? Their brain casing is actually not too big at all, yes. They don't have much of a big brain, actually. It's a rather small brain. But it doesn't make them, like, shall I say, intelligent, well, non-intelligent. They are very clever, sharp-sensed animals, actually. I mean, if you think about behaviors that they do and what they think about to adjust and adapt for survival strategies and so on, it's a whole range of things they do. So yeah, definitely not that they are not intelligent. They have really great skill and knowledge, but yeah, they don't have much of a brain to cool down from that matter. If you think about what we've been speaking about and talking about the last couple of months, talking about animals reducing body temperatures, talking about animals dropping the temperatures of the brain and the brain casing itself to obviously keep the body cooled down, as most of the desert animals in the Kalahari has to do to actually adapt to survive in this environment. But yeah, coming back to the heat factor, you can see there on the top edge of the corner, basically, there's a little tree. Like, look, it almost looks like it's appearing that it's like a blurry image created there. And that is the mirage lifting up already from the heat rising. So now currently we are sitting at, I know our temperatures, we're looking at about close to 30 today. And yeah, I can't see the temperatures at the moment, but yeah, we most probably sitting close to 27, 28 degrees already, which is not too hot yet. But from the cold days that we've been having, and then the sudden rise of heat coming up suddenly, it just gets to that point where you easily get that heat rising factor happening, and you can even see it on the screen happening. You can see on the top of the mountain behind the tree as well, that blurry image that's been created. You can see the heat is rising definitely. So slowly but surely we're going to get animals to actually drop down and look for some shade, for the adequate amount of energy saving for the next time when they get active, so there's no overutilization taking place of energy levels.
Our lives are dictated by alarm clocks, traffic jams, constant multitasking, and countless distractions. The wilderness is where many of us feel the most human. On a bushwalk, we become part of the natural landscape. As you step off the vehicle, everything comes alive. As with any risky experience, walking amongst these animals inspires awe and appreciation. Now, it's your turn to go on a bushwalk. Join us from Pride Lands as we slow down our thoughts, put aside our distractions, and reconnect with a place that first taught us how to be human. WildEarth explorer Jenny recently joined Tristan as he broadcast live from Juma.
Awesome to kind of have a guest on board. I'm looking forward to this. This is Jenny.
Hi everyone.
And Jenny is the first of our Ticket to Dream holders.
If you want to go on safari with a WildEarth guide whilst honing your bush knowledge and of course featuring in one of our shows, then head over to our website.
Literally being with Tristan on the vehicle today has been incredible. It has truly been a dream come true.
Sign up to be a WildEarth explorer and you could be making your first ever on-screen appearance.
I would highly recommend being a part of the Explorer program and being able to be a part of an interactive live drive.
My name is Taylor McCurdy and I work for Eco Training. I love hearing from all of the viewers. However, I particularly enjoy those of you who have been watching for a few years. Your questions are just so advanced and they really get me thinking. If you'd like to ask a question on WildEarth, you need to register on our website. Once you've done that, head to the live safari page and submit your questions below the live feed.
Apologies guys about that, a little bit of technical problems, but I'm sure the team will get that back up again. Yeah, so those lines that we saw earlier on, if you were with us since the start of the show, they are a little bit further west of where we are, east of where we are. And these ones that we have here, this is actually the Birmingham Pride with their youngsters, as you can see, those two very little ones. And there's another third one right at the back. It looks like it's playing, is that a dung? Have a closer look. Yeah, it looks like it's playing around with an elephant dung. The amazing thing about cubs when they're still this young, they're very playful and very curious, which is why you can see they're busy playing with that dung. Also a little bit of play with the dung, they are also just sharpening their skills as they're still young. Because as they grow older, they might need those skills that they, sharpen from a very young age, that they will use to hunt and to defend themselves. David, I think you're asking, are there any animals that feed on lion scat? Dave, that is a good question. This actually is. We have vultures here, like your hooded vulture, to actually feed on lion scat. And also if you look further on our left, there's two more youngsters. And the mother, I think she's the one that is laying right in the middle of them. So those two youngsters, they've been born somewhere around last year. So they're about 11 months old now. And those tiny little ones, there are 3 of them. I think for now we can only see 2. The other one is being hidden by that female just laying right in the middle of the track there. So these ones are around 2 to 3 months old. But these 2 big ones here, the 11 months old ones, you can see the one that is laying further close to the rump side of the mom. I mean, you can almost see the rib cage. And you see how flat its stomach is. As you can see there. So with that, you can actually tell that these lions haven't had anything to eat recently. But obviously mom is still producing milk, so she'll offer them a bit of milk. But also if you looked at them, you saw like how skinny they are, but as soon as they get something to eat, as soon as they get food, you wouldn't even realize that they were those skinny ones that you saw. They just become these buff little cubs. There's one of the youngsters is up. Lafika, I believe you're asking how strong are lion cubs? Good question. Depending on, how old they are. I mean, those ones that you can see there, like the little one that is playing with its mom there, I mean, they're not that strong enough. Okay, so at about around 1 to 2 years old, up until 3 years old, then, they've grown, now they're strong. But at that age, they are not that strong. I mean, anything that will come, like hyenas, even some other bird of prey, they can take them down. I think they're trying to suckle, but mom, she doesn't want them to suckle. As you can see, she's moving away from them. I think what she's trying to do is to sleep. As you know, when you have youngsters, they tend to be much more active and Jamie, I'm glad that you can join us. So you're asking how long can a lion cub go without eating? Jamie, it depends on the moms. So if the moms, struggle to catch food, then they won't eat for a while. But with these little cubs there that you can see, obviously the mother produces milk. So, you know, they are sort of like stand a chance of surviving a little bit longer because, I mean, they still have something to suckle on. All right? But normally, as I said, it depends on the female. Sometimes I can go for a week without any proper food, you know. Sometimes over 2 weeks, this female's trying to catch something, they don't catch anything. Because remember, some of these prey animals here, they're actually fast, and sometimes they spot them from a long distance and they get away. So catching a prey here is not that easy, you know. I believe, I don't really copy the name, but I believe one viewer asked how long up until they can catch their own prey. So, you know, with lions, especially when they're a little bit younger, maybe say 11, 12 months old, they'll try to catch something smaller, you know. Maybe some scrub hares, if given a chance, or sometimes even chase around birds. But, you know, fully grown prey like your buffalo, maybe your wildebeest as well, I mean your giraffe, you know, they need to be old enough and experienced to be able to catch that. So I would say at around 2.5 to 3 years old, that's when they sort of good at hunting. You saw that one youngster that I mentioned, the 11 months old one, was actually a little bit on the left-hand side, and this was exposed to the sun. And as I said, it's really, really hot, so it moved from the heat right into the shade, close to the rest of the pride. But for now, while we watch these animals, I'm gonna send you to Steve.
Welcome. Excuse me, everybody. We have returned from Simbambili. The bowels of Simbambili, where it seemed we were swallowed up in a signal hole, but we returned to Juma. And we've got a very chattery fork-tailed drongo that himself is enjoying a bit of shade. I'm going to listen for a moment. Listen to the fork-tailed drongo. Chin spot batis. And off he goes. Just like that, we now have to move out of our wonderful shade. We're quite enjoying being in the shade. We've been driving for some time. It is getting very warm. And we shall continue. So we were trying to follow up on Shadulu, who was down in Simabili. I wanted to find her. She was just on the boundary with Elephant Plains. And I wasn't able to get an update of who I think it was mating with her, but I think it might be tortoise pan male. But I have to find out again later. It's right in the Pungwe River. Beautiful little area with very tall jackalberries. Oh, brown-hooded kingfisher. We got him there. Just at the right of the Tambuti. Oh, he's gone. He's enjoying himself this little stream of water floating down here. The sea plants are still in full flow. Annie, 9 years old, that is a very good question. Annie wants to know if there's any birds that feed milk to their babies. And some people might think that's a crazy question, but it's a very good question because there are some birds. Pigeons and doves, they feed on seeds. And in their crop, inside their throat, there's a little pouch there. And inside there with the seeds and some substance that they produce, they're able to make something known as pigeon milk, which they then feed to their chicks. But they can only have 2 babies because they can only produce enough milk to produce food for those 2 babies. So it's very, very interesting. It enables them, being a seed eater, to feed their babies a liquid diet, when many of the seed-eating birds out here have to feed their chicks insects so as to get water. And then later on, as the chicks start to fledge, they've got to do something and change so that they can start digesting seeds, because all they know is insects. And then they become a seed eater. So it's a very interesting, very well-adapted strategy, and that's why doves and pigeons are so common and so successful, because they can basically make food out of seeds. There's plenty of seeds, even in the dry season. There's seeds, but the pigeons and the doves don't actually breed that time of year here anyway. Other parts of the world they might. So it's a very clever question, because that's one of those things reserved for mammals, is mammary glands for milk production, but pigeons produce it too. Very different process, of course, but quite an interesting one. Doves, pigeons. Let's go past Gallagher Pan and see who else is feeling the rigors of the heat today. There's still a few migratory birds. The Wahlberg's eagles seem to have gone. The European bee-eaters are still here. Just 3 days ago, the barn swallows are everywhere. I haven't seen one in a few days. I've still seen one European bee-eater. So there are some around, but they are starting to leave. I'll keep my eye open for some more migratory birds. Still a lot of sandpipers around, shanks. But it is the time, sort of March, April is the time for many of them to go back. There's still quite a few cuckoos around. Definitely the Levalence cuckoo is still doing its thing. But just a few days ago, we had lots of barn swallows all accumulating on the power lines and on the... We've still got a couple migrants around. There's one. You got him? The woodland kingfisher, who is an inter-African migrant, so he's not going to go too far. But they're still around, and they've also still been making a lot of noise. It's waiting for the movement of insects. you don't have to go that far. You don't have to build up as much condition. You'll go up to sort of middle Central Africa, overwinter there. The climate is warmer, insects are abundant, before coming back here again next year for breeding. Still very green, everybody, and we've just explored most of Mzimba, and all of their watering holes and pans are full, very much like Juma. It's going to be a very good year. It'll take some time still, though, for the bush to density to dwindle, and the animals to be easily found, because, well, there is water absolutely everywhere. And Matthews, this is one of your favourites. Do you like its call then? Have you ever woken up in the bush to the sound of the woodland kingfisher? It goes on and on and on and on. They're very loud, very busy birds, but indeed it is wonderful to have them about. We do miss them when they're gone, and then after the first few weeks of calls, we're like, okay, we've had enough now, because they are one of the first ones to call in the morning, and they are very loud. Last year there was a couple breeding quite close to my room, and they would wake up before the alarm clock. And the alarm clock, everybody, is early, so... Okay, well, we need to move. The sun is starting to cook. I'm afraid we can't sit in the sun. We're going to move into some shade, or at least keep moving. The wind blowing across the body facilitates a little bit of cooling. Okay, well, we're going to check Gallagher Pan, see what we can find there. In the meantime, send you back over to Trishala.
We are watching the expanse that is Juma, and we can even see far into Torchwood, actually, because towards where you see the horizon, that's Torchwood, and we're here on the western parts of Juma. It's one of those really nice open areas that also has enough of a crest for us to see for a while. It's beautiful here in the mornings when you get to see the sunrise. At the moment, you can see what a beautiful day it's going to be. It's going to be a scorcher. Just a scattering of clouds here and there. Almost a white hot horizon as it gets bluer overhead. Always a nice way to wrap up the drive. Look at the beautiful area that we're in. Anyway, let me send you over to Tswalu.
Would you look at that? And our search for cheetah, more cheetah in the dunes, coming back further west, and we come across this stunning specimen. Earlier on we were talking about the heat factor rising slowly but surely. On the edges of these grasses and the three-thorn thickets, there's still a bit of shadows casting in the edges of this dune streets here and there. That's cooling down the surfaces here and there quite a bit still. So there's quite a huge amount of termite and ant activity still fairly active in this area here. And as you can see, the three-thorn thicket is quite dense out here, so it casts quite a nice amount of shade on the ground. There's another one on the road coming across, and so bottom line is it keeps the temperatures on the surfaces around these bushes quite nice and cool, so termite and ants are still very active, which is meaning our bat-eared fox family are looking for those food resources. The greater armored crickets have been around these vegetation areas around the dunes where the creepers and all the flowering plants have been around lately and so on. have been obviously the armored crickets have been feeding on these flowering plants as it is, and so as we've been seeing that Aptum stalks and things been coming through lately this last month, feeding on those armored crickets, the bat-eared fox would benefit doing so as well. So it's not just that they feed looking just for the ants and termites, but they also look for the armored crickets as they focus on high protein levels boosting and so on. But in wintertime, animals like the bat-eared fox, aardvark, pangolin, all of those animals comes out in the daylight actually. And just because the nighttime is too cold for them to be active at that given point. So it doesn't say that they are basically night active animals, so they still got to remain being night active nocturnal animals. It doesn't say that at all. They're Kalahari animals, they're desert animals, so they know how to adapt and survive to obviously save that body energies and consume it at the exact right time. But how special to see these guys in broad daylight and seeing them still being active in this area as we're traveling through this dune street, as we've been looking across the tops of the dunes looking for these cheetahs, possibly scouting over the area. And then we come across this stunning, gorgeous family unit of these bat-eared fox. So bat-eared fox is generally also monogamous pairs where you'll have a male and a female, and they're the main, obviously, breeders of the family unit. And then it gets to a point that you will have the pups from anything between 2 to 5 in a litter that'll come through. Eventually, those pups will split off, and the remainder of the family unity will be those 2 bat-eared fox parents that comes across in that formation. But yeah, very cute to see those big bat buckets for ears, those satellite dishes that they carry on top of their heads in that formation. Stunning to would have seen that this time of the day.
Our lives are dictated by alarm clocks, traffic jams, constant multitasking, and countless distractions. The wilderness is where many of us feel the most human. On a bushwalk, we become part of the natural landscape. As you step off the vehicle, everything comes alive. As with any risky experience, walking amongst these animals inspires awe and appreciation. Now, it's your turn to go on a bushwalk. Join us from Pride Lands as we slow down our thoughts, put aside our distractions, and reconnect with a place that first taught us how to be human. With a slew of potential dangers lurking, it's essential to be aware of your surroundings whilst walking in the wilderness.
20 yards away from one of the most endangered species. This is a big bull.
What a moment, what a close encounter with an Ellie bull. He's just over here now. He's moved completely away.
Being on a bushwalk and seeing a leopard, I mean, it's ridiculous to be this close to a leopard on foot and for him not to run is absolutely insane. How crazy was that?
Through the gap there is just the back of the head of a male lion. He is absolutely unaware that we are here right now. I'll tell you, seeing lions on foot, it definitely brings out the caveman in you, this little scared human being.
My name is Taylor McCurdy and I work for Eco Training. I love hearing from all of the viewers. However, I particularly enjoy those of you who have been watching for a few years. Your questions are just so advanced and they really get me thinking. If you'd like to ask a question on WildEarth, you need to register on our website. Once you've done that, head to the live safari page and submit your questions below the live feed.
Alright, welcome back once more. So yeah, we're still with this Pride, or these other members of the Birmingham Pride. Still looks like they're enjoying being out here in this riverbed here, since it's nice and cool. I mean, look at that female. Her legs split apart, and I guess maybe because of this breeze just blowing through, I think she's loving that. You can see some few ears twitching there. Quite a few insects that are irritating, some flies that are irritating that she's trying to swat them away. The other cub busy grooming itself there. Good question, Ryan. I think you're asking about the skin of these youngsters, why it's dark. It is very normal. I guess sometimes it depends on, lions to lions, right? I mean, there are sometimes they'll be born a little bit lighter, some a bit darker, but with the specific ones, you can see they're actually quite dark. I think it's because they're still young, and as they grow older, they will start to change into that tawny color. But Ryan, good observation there. You can see that one is busy suckling. Actually, earlier on, we had all three of them busy suckling. So I guess now they're just full, but there's one that is just there, busy getting as much milk as it can. This is incredible. I hope you guys did enjoy that. Okay, everybody, I hope everybody had a great morning with us. Unfortunately, we're about to come to an end of our show, and I'm glad everybody could join us. Hoping to see you soon again this afternoon, and have a great day.